everybody. This is Esther. Welcome to my live stream. I see a lot of you have joined me again today. Thank you so much for joining and supporting us. All right. Hold on. Okay. I hope you guys can hear me okay. So, thank you again for joining us. We're going to do another really fun English grammar lesson today. Please remember to say hi to Robin. Hi, Robin, who's in the chat with me to help me make sure to try to answer all of your questions and things like that. So thank you again for joining. I really enjoyed last week's lesson. I hope that you guys also enjoyed it and learned a lot. So let's go ahead and see who's in the chat room with us today. Hi, Janabu Diallo. I hope I'm saying that right. Alginus Morillo, I think. Hi. Thank you for waiting for me. Hamza, thank you. I'm doing very well. How are you? Megna, hello. Casio, hi. Yes, we're doing the present perfect today. So I hope you guys are excited as I am. Okay, hi Ziad and Anfal. Sheriff, Anandu, hi. Anfal, I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. Zakir, hello. Fenny, hi. Carrie Page, hi. How are you? Daipo, and so many other people. Kaushal, Nekati, Clash of Clans Gaming, wow. Mikmik, and anybody else that I might have missed. Arthur left. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you guys doing? I'm doing well. I hope that you are also doing well. Hi, ACH. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but I'm great. Hi, Jose. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And again, please remember that Robin is here to help me if I can't answer your questions or reply to your comments. Also, I wanted to just let you know that Robin and I are working really hard to create and teach these videos, so we hope that you will consider supporting us. You can look in the description and check out the links to see how you can support us so that we can keep making more videos. Thank you for your support and thank you for again being here today. Hi, Sawarin, and hello all. Okay, so we are going to get started with the grammar. Are you guys excited? Let's start. Okay. So today I will be doing a brief lesson on the present perfect. Do you guys know a little bit or a lot about present perfect? Well, if you don't, that's okay because we will talk about that today. And because this will be a brief lesson, I will try to answer all of your questions, but if it's a longer question, Robin might help me or we might try to answer that maybe during one of the Q&A live streams. So here is the plan for today. 1, we will start with the lesson, just like last week. Number 2, we will do some practice questions. After that, number 3, we'll do a short test that I know you will all do very well on. And finally, you can see number 4, there's some homework for you at the end. Thank you to everybody that did the homework last week. I hope that it wasn't too difficult. So let's go ahead and think of how to use the present perfect tense. And thank you for everybody that is continuing to join us. Sadiq, Kirma, it's so nice to see you as well. Omani, Eugene, thank you. I hope all is well with you. And Hekmat, hi. Okay, so let's go back to learning how do we use the present perfect tense. Well, there are several rules that we have to follow. Okay, let's look at number 1. We use the present perfect tense for an unfinished action or habit that started in the past and continues even now. Okay, we started in the past and we are still continuing it today. And you can see in the parentheses that we often use the present perfect with since or for. Let's look at the example sentences. I have lived in the US since May. Now, we will talk about how to make the present perfect sentences, okay? So don't worry about that. Just look at the examples and see why we're using them, why we're using the present perfect in this example. I have lived in the US since May, right? So this person lived in the US starting in the past, and they still live in the US right now. That's why we use the present perfect tense. Let's look at the second example. We have been married for 10 years. Okay, so you can see that both examples used since or for. We have been married for 10 years. Are these people still married? What do you think? The answer is yes, because remember, we use the present perfect for something that started in the past. Okay, these people got married in the past and they're still married today. For how long? 10 years. We can also say we have been married since 2009. And that's saying the same thing. It's saying when the action started. Okay, let's move on to the next usage rule for the present perfect tense. All right, we also use the present perfect tense for an action that happened in the past. Okay, a finished action in the past. But how is it different from the past tense, from the simple past tense? It's because when the action happened is not very important. Okay, I hope you got that. Again, we use the present perfect tense when we're talking about an action that started and ended in the past, but when it happened is not very important. Then we can use the present perfect tense. For example, she has been to Tokyo. Okay, it's similar to saying she went to Tokyo, but it means when she went is not important. So instead, I'll say she has been to Tokyo. Let's look at the next example. They have seen the movie. They have seen the movie. Okay, this action started and ended in the past, but we don't need to know. We don't want to know when they did that. Okay? All right. Kiramat asks, can't we say we have married for 10 years instead of have been? Thank you for that question. Kiramat, that we have married for 10 years would not make sense grammatically. We have to say we have been married for 10 years. Thank you for your question. We have some more people joining. Katimi, Chakar, Halifa, Jenning Wang. Thank you so much. And there's a name that I cannot read, but hello. Thank you all of you for joining. Okay, let's move on to the next rule. We also use the present perfect tense for an action that happened in the recent past. Okay, an action that happened in the recent past. And in parentheses, you can see that we use the words just, yet, or already to in those sentences. So let's look at the examples. She has just finished her homework. That means it just finished. She just finished very recently. Okay, very recently. She has just finished her homework. I'm trying to show that just happened not too long ago. Let's look at the next example. He hasn't finished his homework yet. He hasn't finished his homework yet. He's still working on it. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Hi, Prakar and Mahmood. Okay. So we're going to move on to forming the present perfect tense, making sentences and questions. However, we have to remember that the present perfect tense uses have and has. Okay, so let's look at the chart next to me. When we have, look at the subject pronouns because that will help you decide, do I use have or do I use has? So for the subject pronoun I, we use have. I have. For he, she, and it, we use has. He has. She has. It has. And finally, for you, we, they, we use have. You have. We have. And they have. Is this easy for you guys to remember? It might take a little bit of practice to keep memorizing, okay, or to memorize. It might need a lot of practice, but I know that with practice, you guys will get it. So let's read through it one more time. I have. He has. She has. It has. You have. We have. And they have. Okay. Before I move on, I see a few questions. I'm going to move on. Maybe Robin can answer them for me while I tell you guys how to form the present perfect tense. Let's first talk about how to form the affirmative. Okay? The affirmative for the present perfect tense. So, what we do is first we start with the subject. So, you might remember subject can be I, he, she, it, you, we, they, right? We saw that on the previous slide. It can also be my cat, my friend, Sarah, a name, right? It can be the boys. And of course, it could be Robin teacher, right? The subject can be a lot of different things. Then you might remember we have to choose. Is it has or have? If it's Robin teacher, do you think I would use has or would I use have? The correct answer is has because Robin teacher is a he. Okay? So again, you take the subject, then you take has or have, and then you use the past participle. Are you guys familiar with the past participle? Here's another part of English grammar that takes a lot of practice. But I've prepared a few examples of the past participle for you, for your help, to help you guys. Okay, so for past participle, you take the verb, for example, talk, okay? It's not the simple past, but I put this here as a reminder. Ooh, I made a mistake. Hold on. Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right, talked, okay? And then the past participle in this case is the same. It's talked again, okay? Ooh, maybe I'm too close. So for some verbs, the past participle is the same as the simple past, okay? So let's look at another example, cry. We start with cry. Then for the simple past, cried. And for the past participle, cried. You can see they're the same. Okay. Oh, thank you, Carrie Page. Um, as you can see, Carrie Page has donated um, to our page. So thank you so much for your support, Carrie. Okay, and thank you, Prakar. You guys are, it is so wonderful to have your support so that we can continue making more videos. Okay, so Robin has asked me to move the board closer. Oh, I'm having a hard time. Okay, maybe I need to move a little bit. Now, look at ring. You can see that the past tense, simple past, we use rang. However, look at the past participle. We say rung. Ring, rang, rung. So sometimes the past participle is totally different from the past tense. Sometimes it's the same. So really, it's about memorizing what you learn, okay? It's memorizing, looking up different past participles and memorizing them. So again, that needs a lot of practice because there aren't a lot of rules that you can just follow to make the past participle. You just have to study them, but I know you can do it. And let's look at the last verb, eat. And then the simple past is ate. I'm sure you all knew that. And the past participle is eaten. So those are just a few examples of the past participle. And we will learn a lot more examples as we continue. Okay. Thank you so much. Let's move on. Here is an example of how to form the affirmative for the present perfect. Look at the subject, he. Then we add has. Finally, we use the past participle of the verb walk, and that is walked. Walked is the past participle of the verb walk. So we say he has walked. Let's look at that in a complete sentence. He has walked for 2 hours. I will read that again. He has walked for 2 hours. The action started in the past and it's continuing now. And we use it with since or for to show when did it start, right? It started 2 hours ago. He has walked for 2 hours. Okay, let's move on to the next example. Okay, when we want to form the present perfect in the negative, it's a little bit different. Take a look at the equation that I have above. First, we take the subject. Again, it could be me or I. I'm sorry, it could be I. It could be he. It could be Robin teacher. It could be Fatima, right? It could be a lot of people or animals or things. Then we have to decide, is it has or is it have? Remember, if it's I, you, we, or they, we use have. If it's he, she, or it, we use has. Then notice in the purple up there, right there, we add the word not. We add the word not. And then we move on to the past participle. So it's almost the same as the affirmative, right? The only difference is we add not after has or have. Let's look at an example. This time, the subject is they. Now, do we use has or have for the subject they? Well, you can see it's right there. We use have. Then we add not, as I had explained, and then we're using the past participle of the verb see. See, which is seen. They have not seen. Okay. I hope you guys are understanding and following along. So let's use this information in a complete sentence. They have not seen the movie. They have not seen the movie. They have not seen the movie. And I think we'll talk about this a little bit more a little bit later on, but we can also put have and not together to say they haven't seen the movie. They haven't seen the movie. That is okay as well. All right. Now, when we want to form questions, which we call the interrogative for the present perfect tense, here is what we do. We start with has and have. That can be a little tricky because, well, what's the subject, right? Usually we use the subject first, but in a question or in the interrogative, we start with has and have. Then we put the subject, okay? But even though the subject comes second, has or have is decided by the subject, okay? So think about the subject first if you need to, and then has and have. But remember, this time, has and have come first. Again, so we start with has or have, then we add the subject, and then we add the past participle. It's a little bit different, right? Okay. Hi, Lily. Thank you for joining. Fanny asks, haven't seen. Does that mean never see before? Yes. For example, if I haven't seen that movie, that means I have never seen it before. Okay. So let's go on to okay, let me answer Charles's question if I can. Let's see. What is the participle, the past participle of the verb cut? You would say cut. Yeah, so that's a good question. Cut is one of the verbs that's the same in the present, simple past, and past participle. Cut, cut, cut. I have cut my hair. Okay, so let's try an example for the interrogative. Here, the subject is you, but it doesn't go first. Okay? But remember, for we, they, you, and I, we use have. So we're going to start with have. Have you, and then the verb is visit. The past participle of visit is visited. So have you visited? Okay, so some people might enunciate and say visited. I would say visited. I hope you guys can practice along with me. Visited. Okay, so let's use it in a complete question. Have you visited California? Have you visited California? Have you visited California? This is like asking, have you ever been there? Have you ever been to California? And I wonder, have you ever visited California? California is a beautiful place. Okay, now, I see Gopesh. Hi, Ferhantu. Hi, it's okay that you're late. We're so glad that you're here. And ACH or AK, eat. The past tense of eat is ate, and the past participle is eaten. I have eaten breakfast. I have eaten breakfast. Actually, it's about almost 9 o'clock in the morning here, and I have not eaten breakfast. Okay, now let's talk about how to form the negative interrogative. Okay, I want to make a question. Remember, interrogative is a question in the negative form. We start with has or have, and then you'll notice in the purple we have N apostrophe T. Remember, that's a shortening, a contraction for not. But instead of using not in a question, we usually use the contraction N apostrophe T. And you'll see in the examples. Then we take the subject and then at the end, we add the past participle. So let's take a look at some examples. The subject is she, so we have to use has. Hasn't she been? Now, been, B-E-E-N, is the past participle of the verb be. Okay, been. Hasn't she been? Let's look at a complete negative interrogative question. Hasn't she been to class this week? Hasn't she been to class this week? Again, you notice we don't say has not she been to class this week. I'm not sure if that's grammatically correct, but we just don't say it like that. Instead, we put the has and not together in a contraction to say, hasn't she been to class this week? So I hope you understand how to form the negative interrogative of the present perfect tense. Okay, are you ready to move on to the practice? Let's see how you guys do now. Thank you for those of you that are joining us late. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, so in the affirmative, take a look. The subject is you. The verb is finish your work. Okay, in the blank, try to think, how do I make the present perfect? Go ahead and write your answers in the chat, and I will give you the answer in a few seconds. And yes, please only use the present perfect because that's what we're practicing today. Okay, keep submitting your answers. I only see 3 so far by Lily, Anfal, Fanny. Okay, I'm starting to see a little more. Amy, Ijaz, Hussein, Amy Franklin, thank you. Well, the correct answer here is you. Well, first you have you, and then you take have or has. And it seems like everybody got that right. You use have. Then remember you have to use the past participle of finish. And the past participle of finish is finished. You have finished your work is the correct answer. You have finished your work. Okay. Now, Halifa, you wrote haven't finished, and we're going to go do that in the practice. But right now, I wanted you to do up there, you can see the affirmative. Okay. So that's why you would say you have finished your work. But great try. Okay. Remember, make sure you use the past participle. Finished. Finished. Okay. Jefferson Lopez asked, what's the difference between this sentence, you've finished your work, or you have finished your work, and you finished your work? They are very, very similar, and they're both right. You might use you have finished your work just because it's not important when they finished it. It's just important that they did finish it. But again, it's not a huge difference in this case. Let's move on to the next practice. And Halifa, no need to apologize. That's totally okay. And you're going to be ready when we do the negative. And here we are. Next, practice number 2 is the negative. The subject is she. The verb is see the movie. So in the negative, present perfect, please write your answer for how to complete this sentence and write your answers in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing some answers. Anfal, that's a great try, but try to do the negative, please. And for the affirmative, that would be correct. But try the negative. Ayaz, thank you for that very kind comment. Okay, I'm just going to grab some water. Okay, Chakar, that's very good for the affirmative. I want you now to try the negative. And it looks like we have a lot of answers, and a lot of you guys are saying she has not seen the movie, or used the contraction and said she hasn't seen the movie. And that is correct. Remember, for the negative, we take the subject, has or have. In this case, we would use has because the subject is she, right? You guys knew that. Then not, and then the past participle of see, which is seen. So again, she hasn't seen the movie, or she has not seen the movie. So thank you all for your answers and for your effort. You guys did a great job. Okay. Remember, she have not seen is incorrect. We have to use has because the subject is she. However, if the subject was something like they, then we could say they have not or they haven't seen the movie. Okay, so really be careful with the subject so you use has or have correctly. Are you ready for the next practice question? Well, here it is. Now I want you to form a question. I want you to try the interrogative. Blank, he, blank. Remember, study is the verb for his test. I'll give you a few seconds to try putting your answers in the chat. Thank you, Adhi, for your answer. Okay, I'm sorry I can't read some of those characters. All right, Brian has submitted his answer. Erdal, Virhantu, ACH, I think ACH. Srinivasulu. Okay, and Anfal. Charles. Fenny, thank you for submitting your answer. And myself. Chakar, thank you for your answer. Kun Woodrow. All right, Amy, Lily, thank you for your answers. Halifa. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the correct answer for this practice question. This one had a few more different answers. It looks like Eugene is catching up. So let's look at the correct answer for practice question number 3. Remember, the subject is he. So the first mistake that I did see some people make is using have over here, okay, in the beginning. It's not have, it's has, because remember, for he, she, it, we use has, okay? Has he, and then the past participle for study is studied. And I believe everybody got that right. So great job. So let's look at the answer one more time. Has he studied for his test? Has he studied for his test? Has he done that yet? Okay, so great job. Again, remember oh, good. It looks like Khalifa caught his mistake. Yes, has is the correct word to use here because the subject is he. Okay. Henok, make sure that you use studied, not studies, because we're doing the present perfect tense. And in the present perfect tense, we use the past participle. The past participle of study is studied. Okay. Yes, Thank you, Ayaz. Robin teacher is also a very good teacher. Okay. Algenis, you wrote, is he studied for his test? Remember, in the present perfect, we don't use the be verb is or am or are. We use has or have. Okay? So we'll start with has he studied. And I would just check the spelling. The past participle of study is with an I. Let's move on to practice question number 4. Okay, I think you guys are ready for this one. The negative interrogative. Ooh, this one is a little more challenging, but I think you guys will have no problem. Go ahead and write your answers in the chat. Hi, Florin. It's okay that you're late. We are so glad that you have joined us. Okay, now remember, look up there, practice number 4. It's the negative interrogative. It's a little more challenging, the negative interrogative. Okay. Okay, this one is definitely a little more confusing, so I'm going to use my board again to write the rule for this. So I hope, ooh, okay. Remember that this is the rule for the negative interrogative. Has or have plus n apostrophe t plus the subject and then the past participle of the verb play. So if you check your answer one more time, look at my board, and if you wrote it wrong, try again using this helper. Okay, and it looks like some of you have gotten it. Don't forget past participle. Okay, great. I'm seeing that some of you are fixing your error, and I'm really glad to see that. That's really important in learning English. Important in learning any new language is to make a mistake. That's totally okay, but to try again, right? So I'm seeing that a lot of you guys have the correct answer now. So let's move on, and I will show you what it is. Haven't they played the game yet? Thank you so much. You guys have got it. Haven't, remember we use the N apostrophe T, right? Haven't they played the game yet? Great job. Okay, I think we're on our last one. Okay, we're going to practice, going back to practice the affirmative again. So all you have to do is think what goes in the blank for the verb eat. Okay, so let's see what you guys are writing. ACH, remember, that's correct for the simple past, but we're doing the present perfect today. So try again. Remember, what's the affirmative? How do we form the affirmative for the present perfect? Okay, great. And the subject here is a little more tricky because it's maybe, that might be a little bit harder to think, is that one person, is that many people? Because that depends, right? And it changes if you should use has or have. So think carefully. Do I use has or have in this sentence? And it looks like most of you are have submitted your answers. I told you guys earlier the past participle of eat, so I hope you guys remember that. Okay, And Florin, I see that you want to learn Korean. Maybe one day I will also teach Korean, but my English is actually a lot better than my Korean. Okay, but it's great that you're interested. Learning new languages is always fun. I find that really, really enjoyable. So let's look at the answer. The correct answer is someone has eaten my food. So, yeah, some of you guys did find that it was tricky to choose, has or have. But in this case, someone is one person. So it's most likely a he or she. Okay, so in that case, we use has. And then the past participle of eat is eaten. Okay, so a lot of you guys got that right. Great job. And for those of you that didn't, that's totally okay. Remember, we just need to keep practicing. For the affirmative, I'll just remind you one more time subject, has or have, and then the past participle. Someone has eaten my food. Thank you so much for trying. All right, now we move on to the test. Okay, so you can see it's the same thing that we did in the practice, but I'm not telling you, whether to do the affirmative or the negative. I think for this one, and you can see that there are a lot of possible answers. I think that's one of the main differences. So why don't you be creative and then I'll share some of my answers. Okay, hiato, I will keep that in mind. Okay, I'm seeing Adhi and Halifa and Anfal. Good, thank you for trying. And I'll share some of my answers in just a little bit. Everybody, I hope you will continue submitting your answers. Okay, UK Android likes the funny answers. Oh, Amy, wow, has eaten the house? Uh, Jenabu Diallo, remember, try to find the past participle of the verb clean. What's the past participle of the verb clean? You might need to look that up online or in a dictionary if you're not sure. Okay, so let me just go through some of my answers and I will reply to yours. Thank you for all of you for trying. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Number one, my sister, okay, hasn't cleaned. It looks like I wanted the negative here. I'm sorry about that. My sister hasn't cleaned the house, hasn't entered the house, hasn't left the house. Now, these are just some of the examples that Robin and I used. However, let's look at some of yours because the answers that you put are also correct. Florin wrote, my sister has built the house. That's correct. Adhi wrote, has bought. Has moved to. Halifa, remember to use has because the subject is she, my sister. So has moved to the house, has bought is correct. Anfal, you want to say has gone to the house. Adhi, has bought, has built is also correct. Feni, has cleaned is also right. You can, for the examples, I use the negative, but the affirmative is totally fine. Lily, has gone is correct. Just make sure to say to the house. Demolished, has eaten, I guess. If it's a gingerbread house, she could have eaten it. Has sold, has moved to, has drawn. That's a very creative answer. Yes, Florin, someone can draw the house. Adhi asked, has stole. The past participle of steal is stolen. So my sister has stolen the house. I guess that's possible. It might be hard because it's so big. Houses are usually big. Myself wrote has stayed. Now, first, that is the past participle of stay, but you want to use Y, not I, has stayed, and we would use a preposition like at. Okay, And there's a lot of other answers. Has ruined, gone to, um, hasn't played the house. Sharif, we probably wouldn't use played because I know kids use like play house, like pretending to be a mom and a family and things like that. In this case, um, I don't think we would use it like that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, please try the next one. We blank our homework yet. Here, yeah, go ahead and try that, and I will take a look at your answers. And I'm just checking to see to make sure that I have everything. Okay, thank you for submitting your answers. Let's keep going. And because I guess I should have said this a little earlier, but because we have the word yet at the end, it would be best to try the negative again. Okay? And it looks like you guys already knew that. All right, and we're getting a lot of similar answers. Now, remember, add he, the subject is we. So think about should we use has or have? Okay, Amy is cleaning. Oh, that's maybe for the first question, but that would be the continuous. Remember, we're working on the present perfect. All right, thank you so much. Wow, we have so many answers. Let's look at some possible correct answers. We haven't done our homework yet. I see that some of you guys use that. And we haven't finished our homework yet. Those are both possible answers. And it seems like most of you guys did that. Now, let's look at some of the answers that you put and maybe why some of them might not have been correct. Arthur left, we haven't, well, Florin writes, we haven't painted our homework yet. I guess you can paint your homework. We haven't resolved our homework yet. Now, the past participle of resolve is resolved. I'm not sure if that's a word that we would use. Maybe solved, like solve the questions. Um, let's see. Sharif, remember we're doing present perfect. We use has or have, and then we use the past participle. And in this case, because we're doing negative, we use the N apostrophe T. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. You guys did an awesome job. Okay. Again, I want you guys to try the negative, okay? Try the negative for the present perfect tense and write your answers in the chat. I blank my friend in 10 years. Okay, Adhi is the fast one. He likes to get his work done early. Okay, so Adhi and Maisha, I would say try the negative. Try the negative. Okay, Florin, trying, I guess, a little bit, feeling a little violent. Okay, helped. Met, those are some of the verbs I'm seeing. Done. Oh, kissed. Okay. Anfall. Good try, but the past participle of met or meet is not meted. Again, that's a really good try because it sounds like it could be, right? But I would look online or look in a dictionary. What's the past participle of meet? Okay, I really like the creativity. A lot of you guys are being very creative and also thinking about a lot of funny or silly answers, which is great as well. Okay, so I am going to share the answers. Thank you so much. Florin asks, meet, MEAT or MEET? I'm talking about the verb MEET. MEAT is the food that you get from an animal. All right, so great job. Let's take a look at the answers. Some possible answers, as you could see, there are many possible types, but here are some of the ones that I came up with. I haven't met my friend in 10 years. I haven't seen my friend in 10 years. I haven't called my friend in 10 years. Those are all some possible answers, but I saw a lot of great ones on your part as well. So continue being creative. Just make sure you use the correct verb, the correct past participle. All right, let's move on. Test question number 4. Okay, this one we are not doing the you can do the negative if you'd like. You can also try the affirmative in this case. Again, there are many different possible answers, so I hope you will try to be creative and let's see what you guys can get. Please put your answers in the chat. ACH, on fall, that is correct. Met is the past participle of meet. Okay, we're getting some answers in. Yes, I'm sorry I can't read your name because it's in, I believe, Chinese, but yes, it can be very difficult memorizing the past participles. And that's why I said it takes a lot of practice. ACH, remember we want to try the present perfect. So maybe you might need to look back at the verbs later on or look back at the formation later on. That would be progressive or continuous. But we are focusing on the present perfect today. Okay, Fanny, just remember we don't want to use the past participle of be, which is been. We don't need that for the present perfect unless we're focusing be is the main verb in the sentence. So if we said something like, my son has been to Mexico, something like that, that's okay. Otherwise, we don't need been. Okay, so let's take a look. It looks like a lot of you guys have some similar answers, and that's great as well. So let's look at the correct or some possible correct answers. Um, my son has played the piano since he was 5. Or you can say, my son hasn't played the piano since he was 5. Um, I see a lot of different answers that's correct, that can be correct. Um, Fanny asks, what's the difference between has been played or has played? Again, just to keep it simple in the present perfect, we don't need been unless the be verb is the main verb in the sentence. In this case, we're just using play. Okay. Thank you so much. Florence wrote, my son has studied the piano or has learned the piano, has practiced the piano. Those are all good answers. Okay, we're running a little short on time, so we're going to move on to test question number 5. Okay, blink to America yet? Ooh, you have a lot of room for creativity with this one. Looks like you can choose the subject, right? You can choose, are you going to use the affirmative, the negative? The only thing is, you'll notice it's a question. So think about the interrogative that we learned, okay? I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, Erdal and Naime, remember it's the question. I'll give you a hint if you need, but let me first see. It looks like some people remember for the question, you want to put something else at the beginning. Hi, Chelsea from the Philippines. My day is good so far because everybody here seems to be working hard. I really appreciate that. And how are you? Great, Florin. I'm so glad that you're doing that. Wow, okay. On fall, Charles, Lily, great job. Okay, UK Android, very good. Just remember, think about the subject. Okay, look at the subject. Do we use has or have? ACH, very good. But remember, this is a question. Remember, think about when we make a question, what do we start with? Do we start with the subject or do we start with something else? Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing your answers. Here are a few possible answers. Have you been to America yet? Have you been to America yet? Or haven't you been to America yet? Haven't you been to America yet? You'll notice with the second example, remember for the negative interrogative, we use have or has and then the contraction of not, N apostrophe T. Haven't you? But here we use the verb be, and the past participle of the verb be is been. Have you been? Haven't you been? But I see a lot of other good answers like gone. Have you gone to America yet? But I also see, again, people being really creative. Haven't you moved to America yet? That's a really great example, Florin. Um, let's see. Another one might be, hasn't she sent the package to America yet? Wow, that's a really tricky one. So it doesn't have to be just have you been. It could be has she traveled to America yet? Haven't they moved to America yet, as some of you have done. So really great job. So we're going to start wrapping up in just a little bit. So it's going to be almost time to say goodbye. But thank you so much for joining. And before I let you go, I wanted to tell you about the homework. Okay, so just like last week, we are going to ask you, Robin and I are going to ask you to try some homework. So in the description of the video, I want you to practice using the present perfect tense. You guys did an amazing job today. Present perfect tense is not easy, and we learned a lot of different ways to form the present perfect tense, but you did an amazing job. And so let's get some more practice in by doing the homework in the description. Here is what I would like to see. Number 1, please tell me about your habit that started in the past and you're still doing today, okay? And remember, you need to use since or for, okay? So here's the example. I have played since I was 10, okay? Or maybe it could even be I have played the piano for 10 years. That's okay as well. So that's the first thing I want you to do for homework. For the second part, I want you to tell me something that you have finished in the past. Okay? Tell me something that you finished in the past, but in this case, it doesn't matter when you did it. I don't know when you went to London, okay? All I want to know is something that happened in the past that you finished. I have been to London, okay? And finally, the last part of your homework assignment is to tell me about a recent action. Okay, tell me about a recent action. And try to use just, yet, or already. Okay, you'll notice that we use yet with the negative. I haven't finished watching your last live stream yet. Okay, I haven't finished something yet. All right. And if you guys do your homework, Robin and I will try to get back to you and correct any mistakes or anything, give you some feedback as soon as we can. And as just a kind of reminder, I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for joining us today, and I really love hearing that you guys think I'm helpful and that you like this lesson. That always makes me feel really happy, and it makes me want to keep working hard for you guys. And as you know, Robin is also working hard. Again, as I said in the beginning, I hope that you will consider supporting us. You can check out the links in the description and you can see all the information on the right. So if you would connect with us on social media, just comment and like our videos, share with your friends, that would be really, really helpful. And thank you, Prakar, for your generous support. And Halifa, I'm sorry that you have not mastered this lesson yet. Why don't you guys try watching the video one more time? Try the practice and test questions again. It's not easy to do it at first, so it's okay if you haven't mastered it, okay? Keep practicing, try the homework, and we'll give you your feedback, okay? I hope that that will be helpful. Thank you guys. You are the best, and I will see you guys again next week. Have a great day or night, whatever time it is where you are, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye.